What do you think? Is it better to, do bigger deals, or is it better to do even just more deals?
Hi, Jason Buzi here.
And Raul Luna?
We're the founders of Biz Growth Mastery. We hear a lot in the real estate business about doing bigger deals versus doing more deals. We're going to share our thoughts with that today.
What do you think? Is it better to, do bigger deals, or is it better to do even just more deals?
I, always found that I like doing bigger deals. And then I got confused because a lot of times people will be focused on the number of deals. Like you go to like online, you see different forums and people say, how many deals did you do last year? I did 50, I did 100. Oh, this guy did 200. And I went to like a real estate conference. I don't want to say the name of who, but he's a very well-known wholesaling guru. Everybody was talking about how many deals they did and how much they netted. And I did by far the least deals in the room. It was like 18 and other people were doing like 40, 50, 60. But I netted by far that year was like $1.5 million, and everybody was like blown away. And I realized like they're fixated on the wrong number, because who really cares how many deals you did? It's really how much money you made, right?
I think it has to do a lot of it, Mr. Jason, about the environment that the people are surrounded with.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I'm saying this is because of the following. I obviously still currently live in Modesto, although we have our place now in San Francisco, and we kind of get to play around and just interchangeably whenever we want to stay over here, we'll stay. But my environment, it's properties that on average is only $250,000 to $300,000.
Right.
So what happened to me was that I started in my own backyard, and basically I was thinking, the same way that, in order for me, the goal was to hit $1 million. If I can hit $1 million, I realized that I had to do about 35, 40 deals that would, give me, about $40,000 or some change in profit, right? And you realize that, you got to be always, doing high volume numbers in order to hit those targets, but
Yeah.
it necessarily doesn't transpire to that, because, when you're doing 40, 50, 60 deals, 100 deals a year, you can't do it alone. You'll freaking be exhausted.
Yeah.
And it takes me back to when I first met you, because it was at a meetup. I was invited. I remember being, the room was packed. I went all the way to the front of the room and I was taking notes. And I remember telling my wife, I said, you know what, buy his books, make sure that we get them, Smashing the Alarm Clock.
Yeah.
And we bought them through Amazon. She ordered her copy, my copy, read it. I remember telling one good friend of mine, saying, hey, listen, let's make it a point to meet you, to take you to dinner,
Yeah.
to get to connect. And when I learned that you were doing deals where you were, netting 150,000, $500,000, the bigger ones, to me, I was like, oh my God, that means I could do two deals of $500,000 and still hit the target,
Yeah.
that I was aiming for, but that I had to do about 35, 40 deals.
And with no employees and very little overhead, actually.
Absolutely. To me, that was an eye opener. Now, there's a market for everybody, right? I mean, there's people that, that I know that are doing 40, 50 deals a month.
Yeah.
And yet, I guess a lot of it has to do on their environment. Their environment may not hold for, well, they do. There's bigger deals all over. It's just that category of real estate that you get involved with, right?
Yeah.
Multifamily, for instance.
Oh, yeah.
You could find
Commercial,
it you could find it pretty much anywhere that you could do massive deals.
Yeah, for sure. I had a conversation about 10 years ago, sort of like the opposite experience of what you had, but from the other side, where I was talking to a guy and he published a book and he was living in the South somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And he says to me, how much do you make per deal? And I said, at that time it was like about 30,000 wholesale fee, about 30 grand, right? And he's like, oh my God, you're doing really well.
Per deal, right?
Yeah, per deal, 30 grand. But I wasn't doing like a big volume, but I was still maybe doing 10 deals a year, so still making pretty good money, like 250, 300 a year. Right. This is like 10 years ago. He's like, oh my God, you make a 30 grand a deal, that's amazing. I make about 3,500 a deal.
Wow.
And you know what? I wish I didn't have that conversation, because it actually made me feel too good about myself. Because you know how you talk to some people and they're doing really well,
right,
and it pushes you to like aim higher?
Right.
His almost pushed me to aim lower. Not that I reduced my fee, but it made me think, oh my God, I'm doing so great. And it didn't hit me till like a few years later that, wait a second, I'm actually should be making 6 figures on most of these deals.
Right.
So talking to him was actually counterproductive. But
Goes back to the environment.
He's doing exactly
Goes
because
back to the
it's
environment.
who are you aiming to be like? If all of your classmates, you're going to high school and you're in a rough area, and all of your classmates are dropping out of high school and getting dead-end jobs and getting pregnant when they're 16 and doing drugs, you might not do all of those things, but the chance of you going to college or the chance of you becoming like a successful business person or doctor or lawyer is a lot smaller than if you're in a high school like I went to, for example, where everybody was going to college, and and the only question was, are you going to go to Berkeley? Are you going to go to Stanford? Are you going to go to UCLA? That's like, I was fortunate enough to grow up in a good neighborhood, so I have no excuse, by the way, because I went to like the good school, and everybody was like, which college are you going to go to? And we knew one guy who went into the military. He was a good guy, but like there's schools in parts of the country where everybody goes into the military. There's schools that are in bad parts of the inner city where 60-70% drop out. And then there's schools like the one I was fortunate enough to go to in Cupertino, California, where the only question is, are you going to go to Berkeley or Stanford or Davis or UCLA, or which college are you going to? Not are you going to college, which college are you going to? So, and you telling me that that doesn't affect those kids when they graduate, what they're going to do, if they graduate even? Like, your environment has a massive effect on you. And it's rare people like Raul and maybe sometimes myself who really try to think beyond just the immediate environment are in, either think bigger or think different, but most people don't do that. So you're affected by that for sure. And as far as the real estate opportunities, in a lot of markets, yeah, you're not going to make like $500,000 on a house, but you might make it on an apartment building, you might make it on a commercial deal, you might make it on a retail deal. There's ways to do those bigger deals. I don't like, the idea of having a big team. You've talked about, you have a small team, but
It's really the visions, right? If your vision, what is your vision at the end of the day? I like to have, teams involved because I want to have the impact in others, but the freedom as well. Now, it works both ways. I think there's no right or wrong. I think
Yeah.
it's really just what gravitates to you
Yeah.
and what gravitates to somebody else. But one of the things I can tell you straight flat out, it blew my mind knowing that you were doing that level of profits with no teams,
Yeah.
very relaxed, very mellow, uh, no noise. I mean, you're a high caliber of real estate investor, and yet I was not aware of you until I did, right?
Yeah.
And that completely changed my perspective. Going back to the environment, Mr. Jason, we it's very important to share this. It's the fact that if you want to continue to grow, you must continue to change your environment.
Definitely.
If you want to continue to grow, you have to continue to change your environment. And the reason being is because you either change it or you either find it. And if you can't find it, you got to change it. To me, when I first met you, it was a game changer. Obviously, I took action. You obviously share the information willingly and freely. And to me, it was more of, I'm going to observe and get it done. Now, today, I prefer bigger deals. I will still do smaller deals. I will
Yeah.
not say no to it.
Yeah.
But it's not, the model is not, if I can do 1,000 deals in a year,
Yeah.
I rather do a couple dozen deals that represent a bigger deals with
Bigger revenue. Yeah.
bigger revenue, bigger profits, and that's where it lies, right?
Yeah.
Bigger deals or more deals.
There's a lot of fixation now online. How many deals did you do? How many, it doesn't, whereas like the quality and the size is really what's important about the deals, not the total volume. For me, like, I'm not against having a team, just to be clear. It's just, sometimes it's hard to find the right people that are a good fit and motivate them and retain them and all that. And especially, everybody talks about how great the economy is. The downside of having an economy this good is that nobody's really hungry. Not nobody, but most people are not really like, oh, I'll do anything to succeed. I'll put in 18 hours a day, or I'm not. So you have a lot of wishy-washy people that go from one job to another, right? Like when my grandmother was growing up during the Great Depression, you have to have a college degree just to work as a sales lady at Macy's, right? And now it's like, basically like now I just came back from the bank, by the way. I sent a wire. They had the guy that was working there 3 months training the guy who's new. So the 3-month guy is like the senior guy training the new guy on how to do a wire. It's like the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen, But they have such turnover.
And
They have such turnover.
it is. I mean, I think every time you got to deal with emotions, you got to know that you got to know yourself at a deep level.
Yeah.
Like you know, you need to know yourself at a deep level, but you need to know how to control yourself as well, so that you can help others as well. So
Yeah.
so I'm not saying that it's easy. It's simple once you already been there and knock your head several times and understand how it works. Going back to the bigger deals or more deals,
Yeah.
because one of the things, and I want to make a clear point here to the audience, to the people that are going to be watching this video. Living in Modesto or the Stanislaus County or the Merced County,
Which we should explain to people who are maybe in another part of the country what that means.
right?
Right now, we're in the Bay Area where we're recording this. We're in San Mateo, California. If you're watching like another part of the country, like this is probably the most expensive part of the country.
Mm-hmm.
But what Raul is talking about is if you just go 2 hours outside of that, prices drop like a rock. They're 80% lower. Like, so the same house that might cost $2 million here might be $200,000 there. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. The interesting thing is you can go by county or by city, and one of the things that I like to always do is find out what the average home price is on the area. Going back to, for instance, Modesto. In this time of the time that we're recording this video, is probably about anywhere from 275 to 300, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere along those lines. As well, in Merced is probably a little bit less. But why am I making this point? Is because going back to the environment, you mentioned it earlier on that you can make bigger deals. Maybe like in Modesto, if I was to do a deal for $1 million deal or a couple $1 million deal, the house over there is going to take 2 years to sell.
Yeah.
Because it's a very specific buyer who would buy that house.
Right.
That you may only profit maybe a couple $100,000 if you profit.
Right.
Where you can come to the Bay Area, and literally a $2 million house, depending on the location, could go right away.
And it could also be like 1,000 square foot little shack that if anybody comes from any other part of the country, they won't believe that a house like a mile from here where we're sitting in Burlingame for $2 million in some neighborhoods, you'll be lucky to just get a piece of dirt with a small shack on it because you're basically paying for the land, and that's the entry level price for that neighborhood. Yeah. So what you're saying is very true, and it's also important to look at average price for the neighborhood, also what we call a price floor and a price ceiling. So what's the difference? The cheapest house here ever will sell for no less than $2 million. The most expensive will sell for up to $4 million. Okay, that's good to know. Or the cheapest will sell for $250, the most will sell for $350. And then you make those decisions. I'll give you a quick example. A house in Hayward that I got in Hayward, California, I got it for like $350, and I could have remodeled it, and then I would be selling it for around the highest price. The lowest price in that neighborhood was low 400s. The highest price was $550, so it's not a big spread. So I had the option of remodeling that house, which was a dump, and then trying to sell for $550, which would be the highest price, and find a specific buyer who falls in love with that house and say, I gotta have the house. And I decided not to remodel it. Why? Because I thought it would be easier. I decided it would be easier to have, instead of the nicest house and try to get the top dollar, to have the cheapest house. So we listed it for $399, and I think we sold around $450, and we got multiple offers. And if I did the math on what it would have cost me and how the time it would have taken me to fix it and remodel it,
you made more than
I would have made more probably, at least
not
as much,
fixing.
Maybe less. Not fixing it, with less headache, with not having to deal with a contractor, with not having to wait months. I actually made more. I'm sure you've seen those situations too.
Absolutely. And just so that you understand, we're literally Hayward is what, 10 minutes from where we are.
From where we are. One bridge. That bridge and prices are 70% lower. So when you talk about bigger deals, you have to. I say do bigger deals, but you have to really understand the market.
Absolutely.
So you can't just say, oh, there's $1 million in front of it. People didn't understand for a long time what I did online, and they would say things like, oh, he does luxury homes. No, I do crappy homes in luxury areas. I don't want the 5,000 square foot brand new house in Modesto. No offense to Modesto. I don't want that. That's the one that's going to sit there for a year or two. I want the Burlingame or Palo Alto or Los Altos, the high-end areas, give me the crappy house. And there's upside to remodel, to expand, to build, to sell to builders. That's where the upside is. I mean, we just did one a few miles from here, bought it, boom, sold it like basically the same day, $250,000 more, right, to a builder. So not the most profitable deals. That's the other thing that in people's mindset, because people think they equate money to work, which sometimes is true and sometimes it's not. It's work to find the deals. But I can tell you sometimes when you find a good deal, you're better off just selling it right away.
You know the interesting thing, because I'll give you an example, and it goes back to, obviously environment has to do a lot. Whatever environment you are involved with is what's going to be adapting and changing your way you're seeing things and believing
Yeah.
on those things. Ever since I did an additional, not a, I don't want to say a switch, but I started investing heavier into the multifamily world, and this is an example of how in Modesto a $2 million house could is depending on it's just going to sit there for longer.
Yeah.
But we just recently closed on a 40 unit building that basically by doing the multi-layered value add that we are right now as we speak doing, the building it was purchased for for what 5.3 5 point, almost 5.4, based on the analysis that the real estate broker and as well as a financial institution did. The property is going to be valued at close to $3 million above than what we bought it for.
Wow.
So that in itself, Modesto may not be the best for one house,
Yeah.
but it could be good for multifamily.
Right.
And knowing that, it's important. That's why bigger deals. That's why I prefer bigger deals.
Yeah.
One deal can make you 7 figures,
Or Modesto, if I get a house.
even in Modesto.
Yeah, or in Modesto, let's say if I'm buying a house in Burlingame, I want it 20% below market, right?
Right.
But maybe I'll buy a house in Modesto, but maybe I need it to be 40% below market. Even now, I'm buying a house in Vallejo, and it's 40% below market. I don't want Vallejo. Vallejo is another area, for those that don't know. It's in the Bay Area, but it's kind of on the outskirts, on the periphery. It's not like the core. It's not $1 million houses. It's like $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 houses. I'm buying it for $200,000. It's worth $350,000. I'm buying it for $200,000. But I know that I need a big discount there. If it's worth $350,000, I wouldn't pay $280,000 or $290,000 for it. It's too small of a number. It's not a great enough area. I need a bigger discount. So I'm getting a 40% discount. Yeah, sure, okay, I'll do it.
Absolutely. So, so that we can basically wrap it up. What do you, so what is your take? Is it for you better bigger deals versus more deals, or is it bigger quality deals versus more?
Well, let's talk about the mindset a little bit now too. What are we all doing? What is our goal in doing this? I mean, we might have different end goals, but we're using this as a vehicle to build wealth, financial security, financial independence, make money, right? It makes no difference to your wealth, financial security, or financial independence if you did 100 deals or if you did 10 deals. What makes a difference is how much revenue you brought in, how much you're keeping, and that's where you've talked about, maybe you can talk a little bit about it now, tax strategies like depreciation and so on.
Absolutely.
And how much cash flow you're creating. But how many deals you did, it's totally irrelevant. It's like a pissing contest, The people online are saying, oh, I did 100, I did 80, I did 120. Nobody cares.
Right.
Show your bank account, show your net worth, show what you owe, not how many transactions. It's kind of like, do you want to be like McDonald's? Okay, they're making a little bit on each one, but they're selling a ton. For a person, it's very hard to be like McDonald's. You're limited by your just size and the size of your team and overhead. And some people I know, they're spending like upwards of $100,000 a month to try to get a lot of deals, and because they have so much staff and they have so much overhead and advertising and office expenses. And my God, I couldn't sleep at night if I was spending $100,000 a month of my money, maybe if it was a big company, and they're making sometimes less than what they're spending. In other words, there's a positive, but they're spending 100 to make back 50 in profit. So first of all, the mindset of doing bigger deals is, don't be intimidated. First of all, let's say that. Can we agree on that?
Yeah,
Don't be
absolutely.
intimidated. The first time I was trying to wholesale, it was $1 million for the property. I tell this story all the time when I speak. I had $2,000 to my name. Was that going to stop me? The fact that I had $2,000 to my name, and I owed my friend $7,000. So actually, I had -5, because if you have $2,000 in the bank and you owe your friend $7,000, you're at -5.
As I'll give you an example. It's not what's happening to you that is going to determine the things; is how you react to what's happening.
Right.
And people don't talk a lot about mindset. They talk more about the how to do it, the activity of doing, the action of doing, which is important. But mindset, it is key. It is
Yeah.
absolutely key, because when I decided to jump on board and start doing bigger deals, let's face it, one big deal done the wrong way,
It can hurt too. It can
will
hurt.
it could put you to sleep for a while.
So just to go back real quick, I had $2,000, and the first property that I ever made an offer on was $1,000,000. But I had $2,000, and I owed $7,000. So my net worth was negative. I had no job, no income, iffy credit. But I didn't let that stop me from making an offer, and a lot of people would. That is the mindset difference. Like, I didn't really know what I was doing. I hadn't taken a course in wholesale or anything like that. So don't let like not knowing stop you, but definitely, yeah, protect your downside. Contracts have contingencies. There's ways that you can back out if you don't know what you're doing. Do your homework, do your research. We talked a lot about different areas. Study the different areas, study the different submarkets. We talk even when we talk about the Bay Area. And I know people are watching this all over the country and maybe even other parts of the world. So when I talk about the San Francisco Bay Area, that's one metro area. I can drive an hour north, I can drive an hour east, I can drive an hour south, and it's going to be different prices, even within the Bay Area. I just buying a house now for $200,000. There's other places I can't touch a house for less than 2 or 3 million. Can't touch it. Even in my wildest dreams, there's nothing for less than 2 or 3 million in different pockets. And then there's others that are a couple $100,000. Know the market really well, but get in the mindset of not being scared to do those bigger deals, and forget about volume deals. At the end of the day, it's what is going to work for you, what's going to bring you the most money. Now, if you're in a different market that's a low-end market, I would still look at those bigger deals, but I would not rule out the smaller deals that they're there. You better build a really well-oiled machine, because if you're doing a lot of volume, you probably need a team. You probably need some people, because to handle 5, 6, 10, 15 closings a month, the negotiation, the paper, like I'm doing 3 right now this month, and I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. I got so much paperwork and wires and insurance and this and signings and notaries. And it's like overwhelming. I don't know how people do it, but you need a team.
I think personally is that the purpose will determine if bigger deals is the way to go or more deals is the way to go.
And your market to some extent too.
So I think purpose and environment has a lot to do. I'll give you an example. If your purpose is to travel, you don't want no responsibility of additional ocean of emotion, which is people's emotions, then obviously bigger deals, like if you want more quality of time, and I'm not saying that the more deals that you got going on doesn't give you, it's going to require much more involvement, systems is going to require, and I gotta be real to everybody, I got a team, it's a smaller team, we're about maybe right now, 12, 15 people now. And it does require responsibility, especially when I'm the responsible to grow the organization, to train them, to guide them and things like that. The purpose has a lot to say, whether bigger deals or more deals. In my case, we're doing both. And and the reason why we're doing both is because the bigger deals is what I call them the legacy deals.
Yeah.
To me, it's more like, okay, these are the legacy deals, and then the smaller deals are like the team building deals. It's what keeps basically everything else running. So purpose has a lot to do. Environment has a lot to do. I think those two will determine.
Definitely, and your market also to some extent.
Right. Although if you change on the category of real estate, you can still
like you're in a low end area, but you can do, like we said, commercial multifamily. All right, sounds good.
Yeah. So there you go. There you have it. Bigger deals or more deals. It's up to you, my friend. All I can tell you is you got someone that is doing what I personally call legacy deals, and I started doing more deals. Now I do. I do less than what I used to do, but it's a combination of really truly legacy deals with more of the quality deals, because it just gives you much more acceleration. So it's really up to you. You got to decide for you. All right.
One thing to just remember: no matter what you do, lots of opportunity out there.
Absolutely.
Always is. Always will be.
Absolutely. So congratulations for watching this episode. We'll be happy to have you in the next one. So good to see you. Raul Luna here.
Buzi.
Mr. Jason.
Thank you.